Okie dokie, I think. Are we live? I think we're live. My goodness, look at that. Incredible. Incredible stuff. Alright, let's get into it. So today, as you may have noticed from the good old thumbnail, we're designing a cleric for use in a kind of like one-off campaign that a friend of mine is running. Actually, one of the players in my campaign currently, and actually a professor that I had in college. We've been friends for many years now at this point, and he's obsessed with Dungeons and Dragons. He's absolutely nuts for D&D. So we have to indulge him and play in his fun little one-off campaign that we've got going here. So the idea behind the campaign is actually like so it's only going to be like 3 days or so, like 3 sessions, and the whole party is clerics. So clerics of all different domains, and for like a one-off kind of thing like this, it's kind of fun to mess around with like different parties, and it can be a fun way to figure out, you know, what the nuances of the class are, because everybody kind of has to take a different tack to it. Normally, if you're a cleric, you're kind of shoehorned into the healer kind of role, but in this case, we're going to have some role differentiation among the party. And so I'm kind of thinking of going with a cleric of the Tempest domain. So it's kind of like storm, divine storm magic, think like Wrath of Zeus or Thor kind of thing. And I think that would be pretty fun to play around with. They also get, unlike some other clerics, so a lot of the clerics I think do get heavy armor proficiency, but the Tempest domain also gets martial weapon proficiency, so a little more combat oriented and has some more damage dealing kind of spells and abilities that might be useful for a party that doesn't have a proper fighter or tank to soak up some of that damage and deal it out as efficiently. So I was kind of thinking it'd be fun to do, rather than a kind of traditional choice where you get like a wisdom bonus or something for your spells, to go with like a half-orc. So you get a strength and constitution bonus, and then just drop whatever your highest ability score is into wisdom and let the natural abilities of the orc take care of the rest. And so with just trying to like play off the theme of the character's class, I was thinking kind of like a rugged sort of kind of wild-haired. I'm just kind of using a scribbly kind of mechanical pencil brush here, but given the theme of it being like a storm theme, something kind of crazy. He's a little bit not totally off his rocker, but he's definitely been living out in the woods too long, or on a mountaintop somewhere. And of course, we're going to need to give him some pretty hefty armor. I'm thinking maybe splint mail, just in terms of, you know, the kind of stats aspect of it. But if we're going to, you know, use those stats and draw from that stuff in the player's handbook, we might as well also draw up some splint mail on this guy. Let's see how that goes. So we're definitely going to give him a shield. We want him to be pretty tanky. And I might end up kind of repositioning him, but right now we're just kind of sketching around, trying to get a feel for sort of the general proportions that we might want to go for. And I'm thinking Morning Star or something like that for the weapon. Just a moment here. Okay. So I'm thinking of designing 2 different clerics as well. So this is kind of the first one that I had an idea with, but somebody else in the party was also thinking that we would be doing paladins or something instead, or that would be fun. And so they may want to take on that damage dealer role, in which case I also think, taking a look at the subclasses in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, might be kind of fun, because there is a cleric domain of order that could work as well, or could be fun to play around with as well. And the order domain, I think we would go with a kind of different class entirely. I was thinking for Tempest it would be fun to also do a Dragonborn maybe, and maybe one that, maybe one that has like a lightning or a cold breath weapon to kind of fit with the storm theme, of Wrath of Nature kind of theme. I think we want to give this guy kind of like long, scraggly hair. Give him kind of a crazy look to him. And for today's music, we just got the classic Diablo Tristram theme, but with some rain pitter-pattering behind it. I think it would fit the theme well. You know what I was thinking too, it might be fun if we're going with Splint Mail to make because Splint Mail, I don't know too much about the history of Splint Mail or where and when it was kind of used prominently. If it was used, in kind of prominent historical context, but basically the idea is like it's like smaller kind of plates or splints of metal. Your hard surface element that is going to be the kind of protective link. And hold on, the DM is actually texting us right now. So we're trying to figure out. So there were a couple other options for this campaign too. So we were thinking like it could be either all clerics or like a family of like tieflings or a more unique race like Dragonborn or something like that. And that's kind of a way to give everybody a reason in the party that they know each other and not have to go through in the span of a short campaign the rigmarole of establishing everybody meeting and all that stuff. But in the context of like, all Dragonborn or all Tieflings, it would probably be something like we all have a different class, obviously. So I was thinking it might be fun too to go with kind of like a half-orc, but make him tall and lanky instead of the kind of more built, bulky, kind of traditional half-orc. Still give him some kind of like traditional elements of what a standard cleric would have, kind of like a robe or like a belted tunic over which he maybe wears his splint armor, maybe a kind of wrapping, maybe a cloak kind of like the one I'm wearing right now. It's a Ruana style cloak. Got his club here. Some things hanging around his waist. I think of doing like a kind of Outlander background. So the backstory I'm kind of thinking for this guy, he's been living out in the woods. I was kind of thinking, so a lot of the gods that are suggested for the Tempest domain are of evil alignment, which is somewhat problematic for a standard, adventuring party. But that could also be fine, But I was thinking there's one god, Talos, that's recommended that's particularly supposed to be kind of like evil and destructive, and it would be kind of fun to play it as like the character is a cleric of that god, but as like a means of assuaging their wrath to some extent by offering them, sort of what do you call it? Like destruction in the context of noble battles. So like offering them up enough destruction that they're appeased, but making that destruction sort of noble or just as a means of appeasing this evil god. So it's sort of like almost like like a Dexter-like thing. Or Dexter is like a serial killer, but he only kills evil people, which is a patently kind of like cartoony and silly concept. I don't know if you've ever watched Dexter. My family, when Dexter, and kind of when it was still on the air, but it was like in the early days of Netflix, we were getting the DVDs of the early seasons of Dexter, like, mailed to our house so we could watch them as a family, which at that point, most, me and my brother and sister were like a little bit older. I was in high school probably. But it's just funny because that show has, a lot of blood and I guess there's like some kind of like sex stuff, but it's pretty, I don't say tame by the like kind of like post Game of Thrones sort of era of television. But at any rate, Dexter is a really silly show because I think he lives in like Florida or something, and the number of serial killers that have to exist to supply him with fodder for his like quote unquote just murder spree is kind of hilarious. It doesn't. It gives Florida, which already has issues with its image, an extra bad rap in that show. Not making a commentary on whether or not Florida deserves such a rap, but that's just some funny stuff from that context. So definitely, these are feeling kind of generic. I think I feel limited by the by the splint mail sort of thing. So maybe trying to go for the big shapes first, and then sort of going from there. So let's kind of get a kind of cleaner head kind of down. I'm thinking kind of like a sort of crazed, wide-eyed look on him all the time. Like he's always like on the lookout for storms or destructive events or something of that nature. Like his hair is in like a constant state of like shocked disarray. That could be kind of fun. Like dark bags under his eyes, like he doesn't sleep a whole lot. Maybe he's like obsessed with recording and documenting instances of like destruction in the natural world, and whether they may or may not be caused by his god. And then from that, sort of like kind of trying to divine ways to appease his god by smiting evildoers, or even like committing acts of, you know, like justice, or not justice, but destruction for the greater good, like destruction to appease the gods so they do not destroy things further. Oops. He's a little too worried. I do still want to make him kind of like a battle-crazed kind of nut. And maybe he's like sort of like, you know, bizarrely good-natured for how evil his god is. It's like a sort of like penance, or he's trying to like make up for them. So right now he's got a kind of like, who's that guy in Game of Thrones? The Giant's Bane or whatever. I don't really, the red-haired guy. Can't remember his name. Thorin, maybe. No, is that one of the dwarves? I have no idea. At any rate, he's kind of got that look going for him right now, which I'm not a huge fan of for this character. But we do want him to kind of have the storm is coming. Like, get out of here. Like a kind of like, the world is, he's like one of the guys with like the sign that's like, oh, the world's about to end, sort of thing. I think we make his pupils even smaller. And this is kind of just to get me in the mood to draw the rest of him. It's not necessarily stuff that will stick to the final design, but just trying to like get in the shoes, get in the brain of this character, I think is sort of the goal here, at any rate. Alright, and let me just check this group text to make sure we are in fact still doing those clerics. Clerics. Okay, so somebody's saying maybe a blend of clerics and paladins. Say, I personally would like cleric, but I'm not opposed to having paladins in the party. That way we do have some damage dealers. So let's think about this a little more. So we got kind of the face here, and maybe so his neck kind of coming out here. Could give him kind of like a storm chaser type hood kind of thing. Like almost like a raincoat, like a rain cloak underneath, so sort of like a waxed canvas type material, kind of like that. He's got this like hood, this baggy hood that comes up around his Or maybe he has like one of those hats with the flaps that come down or something like that. But I think we don't put the hat or the hood on him just to show off his crazy hair. He's kind of a big boy. He is an orc. Okay. And I'm thinking we go yeah, maybe like a silver dragonborn or something for the cleric of order. We kind of pick between the two for what we want to go with for the final character. So again, he's a little bit too thick. I have a tendency to draw kind of like stockier characters, I've noticed, or stockier figures. So I want to kind of try and get out of that habit a little bit and make this guy a little more like long and lanky. Not making him like too crazy long. Maybe this is one of those hoods that's like its own kind of garment, and then underneath is like some kind of cloak or cape. And maybe I like having something like a splint mail, but yeah, maybe we figure that out later. We just kind of give him for now sort of like armor that comes over his tunic. I would like, yeah, maybe in this one we don't include his shield, and afterward we add in a shield, just so we can get the design of the kind of underneath him a little bit more solid before moving forward. It would be pretty ripped. Maybe like you can see his muscles through his clothes, kind of thing. Well, I was saying I wanted to be lankier. See, this is what I'm talking about. I'm always like, I guess it would make sense for him to be kind of ripped if he's like pretty tanky, but I also find that the kind of like big beard thing is sort of mussing with my perception of how like thick he should be. So maybe his beard kind of like comes out a little bit more and is longer. Maybe his nose is kind of longer and thinner, almost troll-like. Yeah, I like that nose better. Just trying to make it feel... Whoops, switched to the pen by accident. Feel more natural, that he would be kind of a long boy. Actually, I'm going to switch back to that pen and give him just fill in this beard here. There's no ambiguity about what's going on with his hair. Yeah, this gives him kind of like Rasputin vibes almost. Which I'm not totally opposed to, but it's not quite what we're going for with this character. Although he has like kind of like a crazy soothsaying kind of prophet type. Yeah, I like that with the teeth. I do like his crazy teeth that he's going back on here. And his big crazy mustache. See, I'm not a fan of playing super goofy characters when it comes to D&D. I like them to be kind of wild, but not, but still like grounded enough that you can, you know, function in. The character could conceivably function in like a normal medieval fantasy society. You know, like everything doesn't have to be weird and random and crazy for them to make their way in the world. Okay. Kind of like a leaner sort of musculature. Like he's still a pretty tough guy. He's got. So I rolled for his attributes, and we got a 17 and a 14 as our highest scores. I mean, it tops out at 18 if you're rolling the standard, you know, roll 4d4s and pick the, or 4d6s and pick the top 3 to add together. So, you know, 17's not bad. Drop that into wisdom, and then the 14 I'm just putting into strength because he will be kind of like fighting more often than not, probably. I like the idea of him giving him kind of like makeshift armor, though, that he's like picked up from various battles, and it's kind of like, it's a little ragged, a little haggard. Maybe even some like, kind of like just plates, sort of. Yeah, I have to think about that a little bit, like how I want that to play out. Maybe let's try something here. Oh, that's got gaps for sure. Whoops. But not too many. You can fill that in pretty easily. So this is his kind of like armor set. I'm just kind of erasing out the actual spots where the plates might be, just to kind of give us an idea of what that could look like. I'm just going to switch back to the pen because I feel like I need a little more control of the big shapes and values than this kind of scribbly style is giving me. Maybe less control is what I needed. Maybe he's just got like a kilt underneath this. He's just sort of like, yeah, he's got this kind of like, sort of like kilt pattern kind of thing going on here. He's been living out in the hills. He's a Highlander kind of situation. Because one thing I thought would be fun for his character is if, like, so in some of the lore, I just did a very quick perusal of the lore of Talos as a D&D god, and often he's described as being, you know, like a god of brigands and bandits and that kind of thing. And it would be maybe funny if, like, his like family was killed in a raid or something, and he was discovered. And during that raid, something happened that made them think he was some kind of like prophet of Talos. And so he was kind of like raised under that auspices, but eventually he realized kind of the error of the kind of traditional approach to worshipping Talos, and was ousted or something, or just like left his kind of like found family tribe, or the tribe that adopted him after slaying his real family. I thought that would be kind of a funny approach to it. And I think, yeah, giving him more of this kind of like storm, this kind of like waxed cloak sort of thing, kind of over his armor a little bit. And that way we can give him this kind of, this hood as a, this more traditional hood as like a means of demonstrating his kind of clericness, because we don't want him to come off as a paladin per se. Rather than giving him a cape, it's just sort of this raggedy sort of thing hanging off of him. Maybe he's got like a kind of like canvas traveler's pack or something on his back. Some kind of arm gauntlets. Okay, so let me grab this guy so we can get his whole body in frame here. Okay. Yeah, we definitely want his legs to be kind of like long and fit. You know, just give him like crazy calves from all of his days hiking the hills. This guy is like no charisma, by the way. Just from like looking at him, like the guy. Well, maybe he's one of those kind of like, because what's his face from Game of Thrones is somewhat charismatic, despite his kind of rough appearance and demeanor generally. But I think in this case, well, this guy's stats. Yeah, we're dumping an 8 onto that charisma bonus or charisma score. So there's that, and I think I like the idea of giving him some kind of like slightly more utility, like a stick, like a walking stick, maybe. Maybe like, I don't know what a dowsing rod, like, actually, like, is a dowsing rod a real thing? Is it supposed to, like, help you detect, like, rainfall? Like, I don't actually know what a dowsing rod is, but, like, it feels like an appropriate thing that somebody of this kind of persuasion might have. So it could be fun to play around with some of those ideas there. Okay, I kind of like this guy, so let's take this, we'll copy this, and we'll just keep playing around. Okay, so let's shut that down. Let's take this over here, this new guy, and Yeah, he probably had. You know, we wanted to have some kind of like holy symbol on him. That's there. Or on his shield. With his shield on his back or something. We'll give him like just sandals. Okay. Now let's try and go more kind of hermit-like, I think. Maybe a little bit more hunch to him. He's got like thicker hair. Sort of hangs all about him. It's bedraggled. I don't know what's going on with his face, but just we'll just leave that be. Yeah, I don't really know what I'm doing with this one yet. Let's just dump that. Got his morning star here. You want him to have a weapon with a bit of heft to it, you know. He's got this kind of like makeshift vest sort of thing. And again, kind of like a shortish sort of like tunic coming off from top here. So I kind of like the idea of like tunic that's the sleeves are like tied off a little bit. Keep the rain out, you know. He's got like this one. He's a little more somber in this one. He just kind of has like a sad little beard that's kind of like scraggly and hanging off of him. Still want him to have like some armor, so maybe he's got a pauldron there. He's got like a little bit of a gauntlet going on there. Just give him like a loin, just like wrapped underwear, like diaper thing, instead of like actual clothes. Or maybe like he has like a chain shirt in this one. I think the idea of giving him a chain shirt or like ring mail or something like that. Personally, I think ring mail and chain mail is cool, but it's just such a pain in the butt to draw, and I really should just suck it up and do it more often because it does look cool. And it mainly looks cool, I think, because it is sort of like underutilized in fantasy settings. I think that's part of the reason it looks cool. And you know, I could always just say, like, this is a drawing of him, but actually I still want him to have the stats of like a little bit of a heftier male. So I want to say it goes like ring mail, then split mail, and so, or I don't know, like ring mail and chain mail are not high on the list. And I think that, you know, chain mail falls out of fashion after a time because actually I don't quite remember why, or rather it's like shields fall out of fashion, and ring and chainmail benefits from having a shield, because you can use the shield to block like arrow fire and stuff. And eventually, you know, chainmail just becomes kind of not as useful. I don't quite remember the details of that historically, so I probably shouldn't speak on it, per se. This guy already feels a little more unique, and I've just been kind of noodling on him. I think maybe it's the pose and it kind of captured some of that lankiness I was trying to go for before. I like the idea, yeah, of him being like sort of skinny, and he's wearing like, you know, like clothes that don't quite fit him. Some armor there. Stuff may be attached to his. Yeah, maybe he's got like this sort of like makeshift, like hardened leather, like exterior sort of thing. Still want to give him this hood. I gotta say, this Tristram theme music is really putting me in the mood for this this guy. Maybe he does have some boots on him. Because he's an opportunist. And what the Storm God grants him in battle, he will gladly take. Maybe he's got some kind of like baggy pants on. It does kind of disturb the kind of impression of his lankiness. But I think if we go with the baggy pants, we want more of like a kind of wrapped style on his lower pants and his shoes, kind of. And maybe down here, this is his. He's got a chain or ring mail. Yeah, maybe we just, I mean, it's just a couple days of a campaign. Like, sometimes well, it's like for longer, ironically, it's like for longer stretches of role-playing. You know, sometimes the weaknesses in your character will kind of even out over time. But for these, like, one-off type sessions, I almost prefer to do a little bit of min-maxing, which is why I would like to give him the best armor he can wear, but I also want to consider the role-playing elements of this and like what would he realistically have access to. Probably more like, you know, a something more like a chain shirt. I mean, he's got like kind of like a half robe thing. But yeah, something more like a chain shirt, which would be easier to obtain and maintain than certain other types of armor, potentially. Okay. So of these two, definitely like this guy a little bit more. Yeah, we like this guy. But you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna make them both a little smaller and move them over to the edge a little bit. Got room for one more guy on this layer. So I'm going to go a little more for the height element. And since we've been talking about this kind of like storm hood, maybe I'll actually give this one the hood. Maybe this one, he's a little more incognito. He wears his chain shirt and his armor underneath these robes, which would probably make him the least visually interesting and unique version of this design-wise. So we have to think of some other element to give him some visual interest. He's got a large pack on him, perhaps. He has exposed forearms, so his muscles are really showing through. Like he's a pretty tough guy. He's not the kind of he's not the sort of dude that you want to tussle with. And I gotta remember too to make sure these belts are above the waist, as that makes them more useful for carrying things and kind of belting off this kind of midriff section. Even on characters that are a little more maybe on the rotund side, that would still be the more appropriate place for a medieval character to have their stuff belted. I like the idea of this guy just having kind of a walking stick. Or maybe... I don't know what I want him to have yet, but... we gotta move him up as well. Never account for the size of my canvas properly when I'm doing this. I'll just bring him all the way up there. I made sure to have a nice big breakfast this morning so that I could stream for a while. Really baggy pants. Enhance some of the shapes here. Give him like some straps. Make his head like a little bit bigger. A little bit bigger. Going back to this guy just because I like the idea of him also having like a backpack or something. Maybe of them being like travelers, nomadic, somewhat guy. This sketch is a little more standoffish, maybe. Character who's a little more reserved, not as crazy as the first guy, but I don't know how much I like that for his. This one maybe is a little more kind of doom and gloom, and less like kind of nut jobby. Maybe he's sort of like. Thinks he's on like a quest to prevent, the apocalypse by, as perpetrated by his own god, the god that he actually worships. Oops, get the right tool there. messages on the group chat, as it were. I kind of like this guy, although maybe he's like also a little bit crazy. If we just gave him like a big old half-orc grin. People find him unsettling. I don't know why, but I kind of just like the idea of giving him a sword. Although something more brutal, I don't know. The Morning Star I like as like a sort of cleric thing. Maybe he needs a more unique weapon. We've got to have yet to think of. I think there's maybe something to do with that could be done with some kind of combination between these second two characters. Or these second two kind of directions. Like maybe giving this one kind of like makeshift, like half pauldron thing on this side. Sort of like splints over here that are kind of like makeshift sort of splints. It's like on one hand, I like the idea of hiding certain elements. It also makes for a boring design. Unless I was to do two different versions, which is also, of course, perfectly fine and on the table. And, this will be kind of jutting out like that. Gives Hood a little more ample. Just kind of coloring in his backpack just to... Ooh, our music. Something has occurred. Yes, I am continue watching. Now we're into the lo-fi beats. Let's... This is the lo-fi beats version of that last track we were listening to. Which is also cool and good. You know, I'm kind of thinking like one of those sort of, give me vibes of like one of those sort of like straw, sort of kind of like rain cloaks you see in like old school like Japan kind of stuff, like an old farmer guy would wear or something like that. Something like that could be kind of fun as a sort of additional layer of kind of rain protection. Actually, let's kind of color all of this in, and then go through it with the, just to see how we feel about that. At this point, nothing's set in stone. None of this I'm like totally married to anyway, so. I just want to be careful because I don't want to give him, I do want to give him the kind of more of that hermit look and not like the lordly look, like a lord who has a what do you call it? Like some kind of like fur cloak on the side. I am definitely feeling, is that the wrong color? It's a different color. I have like two greens picked out right now for some reason, so. So the key with this, I think, is that it would come down a little further. I think, yeah, the sword, it's giving me too much of like a Baron look, like a B-A-R-O-N kind of look. Maybe that's in part due to, maybe if we had it more like that. Oh, no, that's not really doing it either. I think it just makes his silhouette too bold for what we're going for. It's not like hunched over enough. That said, I do like this sketch. But maybe not for this. Like, this guy definitely feels more haggard and, maybe the key is, so I'm gonna, where is it? Okay. That might be a little too far that I've dropped him down. Well, that's fine, we'll try that out. Yeah, I don't think that was the right move either. I liked what we tried with that, but maybe that's not the answer we're looking for. Okay, I think I want to try going with the second guy and just giving him a little more personality and kind of seeing what we get out of that. So let me, let's do a darker green, maybe figure out a different, just like a pen that I haven't really used, something, what this will do for us. Let's see. Even that kind of like long nose that we were enjoying in that first sketch. Nice big old orc fangs. You got the beard, but it's kind of like a no mustache kind of, a bit of a crazy beard. Hair kind of disheveled, falling all around, and ears coming out like so. He's got his hood, he's hunched a little bit. We'll see how that turns out after we've noodled on this a little bit more. It's kind of like makeshift sort of armor here. So it's sort of like a combination of like a sort of shitty splint mail sort of, not even splint mail. Maybe these are just sort of like leather, kind of like slightly rainproof leather kind of straps. Hardened leather straps that he's sort of thrown together. And underneath he's got his chain shirt. I do want to explore a little bit more of the backstory of this guy, and then I'm thinking almost like, I mean, it would be fun to explore, you know, what does the cleric of order then look like, because it would be like totally different vibe to this, and I think I would still go with like kind of a heavy armor, but in that case make it much more ornate, put together, much less bedraggled, which I think, you know, sometimes is more of a challenge for me personally. But it can be liberating to actually have to not just come up with a bunch of random shit to put in there. So, I don't know. Maybe it might be easier in some ways. Yeah, he's got a little bit more of a mercenary look to him, which I like, and which fits, you know, in with some projects that I've got going on this month, which is nice. Come up with some more mercenaries for the mini NPC manual. Maybe he's got, yeah, maybe some tunic under this as well. Ooh, and yeah, maybe these are like leather gloves that he has on. Gloves that might make it easier to handle something that's electrified. So kind of thick leather gloves. Okay, yeah. Okay, some kind of belt buckle thing going on here. I have to figure that out a little bit more. Kind of guy who's like, sort of like always ready to get into a fight. In case his god calls for senseless destruction or some such, or he's getting driven out of town because he worships an evil god, even though, at least according to his estimation, he's just trying to help people. What does that look like without? Okay. I like the sketchiness of that. It could be fun to just try and paint over that directly. It's got some kind of pouch right here. And maybe, make him a little more symmetrical in this, at least in this design. Have his weapon kind of coming out like this. Like he's kind of like, whoa, hold up, party. There's some manner of evil afoot. Yeah, bringing a little bit more of that crazy hair kind of vibe from before. crazy eyes. Oops. Yeah, this guy's a little nutso. Yeah, so far, I mean, even if it's not totally what I was going for, I'm kind of attached to this sketch. Attached enough that definitely want to do something with this guy regardless. And definitely worth keeping this sketch train rolling, as it were. And maybe do another pass on this fella here. Seeing how we feel about him. Oh, what do you think this guy's name is? So he's supposed to be a half-orc, but he does have a little bit more of a human vibe to him, as he's currently kind of drawn, besides the tusks and the ears. But they are half-orcs, right? I mean, this guy might just have some more kind of human features. So I'm thinking, part of his backstory is like, yeah, he's found by these bandits who are worshippers of Talos, and maybe during the raid, like lightning strikes his family's hut, and he survives somehow. And when the bandits learn of this, they see him as like some kind of prophet, and it's like there are some like weird stories about that happening, that kind of thing, where like kids are like sort of selected as prophets of some such kind of like religious order, and they either grow up, really messed up as a result of that treatment. And maybe he's kind of in the same situation. I don't know. I think that would be kind of a funny twist for this guy. I think we want to go through and chainmail it up. I should like make a problem with like I just feel like doing it like this gives it like a random quality that sometimes messes up the feeling, because you get into sort of a pattern that is inconsistent with the movements you were making before to make that pattern, or like the styling of it. And then, but like if like I made a brush that would do this for me, that also can be kind of weird. It'd probably be worth getting something for projects where I do want to utilize some kind of, chainmail texture or something to greater effect, or in a large scale format, or even just because I want to save some time and I really want to just get the feel of a character down. It'd probably be worth it. I need to go back at it. So Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord, pretty fun game. I started playing it again, and it's like a huge time suck, and You know, it's got you running around like doing quests and managing your little force of dudes. If you're not familiar with it, it's like sort of combines like RTS and like real time like action RPG elements. It has a pretty robust kind of like combat system. It takes like momentum into account and like if you're up or downhill and like so it's like a medieval fantasy or a medieval combat simulator. Not really fantasy per se, although there are mods for that kind of stuff. But like there is a lot of really nice like digital paintings of like the different factions and stuff on the loading screens and everything that have clear like, I mean, it clearly show, you know, it's clearly digital in a way that you can pick up on pretty quickly. I only say that because, I mean, there's like a lot of guys in like ring mail and chain mail and stuff. And you can kind of see the kind of sameness of some of the patterns. You can see the brush strokes that are like, oh yeah, they used such and such brush, even if it's not like a chainmail brush, so to speak, but it's like definitely the same type of texture or pattern that appears in other places. In a way that, it, like, at a glance, it definitely looks like a traditional painting in a nice way. And I don't mind that it's digital, but it's a thing that might actually be worth going into to study from and just sort of trying to get that look and feel, because I really like that aesthetic. And it's an aesthetic that feels achievable because you can kind of see the how the sausage gets made, so to speak, is sort of evident in the final product. That's not always the case with certain artists or certain pieces, so yeah. Okay, that's our guy so far, just a little sketcheroo. So that's him without any kind of like cape or cloak. And then if we kind of added this sort of ragged, kind of like rain cloak, sort of hanging off here maybe. What would we end up with? Yeah, I sort of like him not having the cape, at least for these initial sketches. He's not really a cape-wearing kind of guy, you know. Definitely a survivalist, though. Maybe he does have some kind of... say maybe he does have some kind of backpack with various accoutrements. Kind of bringing back some of that crazy hair a little bit for this line sketch. We've captured some of that lankiness for sure in this version of the guy. Okay. So what else could he use? Probably like some kind of water skin or something. It'd be like, yeah, something here. Some kind of utility stuff around his belt and everything. Definitely a wider belt buckle here. Oops. Yeah, probably fix the details on that belt in the final render. I don't like what I did with his nose there. Let's take that back. Sorry if you guys can hear the clicking. I realized that this these buttons are like right next to the mic. Oh yeah, that's definitely in there. All right, well, sorry about that. Yeah, my hotkeys that are on the side of my tablet are like right here, you know. So, you know, there's that. Hopefully it's not too much of a distraction or annoyance. Okay. Let's try, I'm just going to drop some colors underneath this and just see how we go with that. We're going to go ahead and use... Try to mess around with the watercolors a bit, but just sort of let's go for dark, kind of grayish brown for his beard. Hair. Kind of a blue-gray, I think, for the pants. Gray, blue for the male. And I messed around with the settings on this opaque watercolor brush a little bit, but it's still kind of got some holdover settings from the just being a watercolor brush, and I haven't played around with it enough to really figure that out. So it's like picking up these other colors, but I tried to make it so it didn't. And it's not something I feel like I have the energy to explore right now, so we're just gonna go back in with this and just get a sort of general sketch in here. So like leather on the gloves. Shoes. See, I mean, it's like picking up those other colors, and I sort of didn't want it to. It's like blending. It has like a natural blending setting that isn't. You can't turn it off. It's like pushing the paint around regardless. So. Like for now, let's just get all of these elements that might be made of leather into this kind of like brown sort of area. I kind of screwed up where the belt was coming off there. So I have to fix that. The green meanie. Definitely a greeny sort of fellow. So the thing that I'm noticing is his head may need to be a little bigger. Oh, that looks funny. Just trying to get down like a couple things to get us started on the colors. And let me turn this in. What do I make that a multiply layer? It's not really quite what we're going for either, but wait, did I do the wrong layers multiply? I think I did. Never mind. That's why. Normal layer. This one a multiply layer and see what happens. Okay. Obviously darkens things a little bit. Let's get some whites of his eyes going just to get a better sense of how that would look. Yes. Well, that's, yeah, we're getting somewhere with this, but I think I need a little break and maybe to come back to this with fresh eyes a little bit later. Let's see what we got here today. We got more or less these three Duder sketches. This is kind of the one that I decided to go with. And maybe I'll just try a values pass on that instead of going straight in with the colors. See how that goes. But I enjoyed sketching this guy for sure. And this guy might need to do something with him as well. This Duder over on the side. This first guy, yeah, he's not it. He ain't there. I know I said I was going to do some Dragonborn stuff. Maybe I'll do that later or tomorrow. That'll be the next day's the event of the next day. We got an hour and a half in on this, so I am pretty stoked about that. And yeah, we'll call it there for today. We got to come up with a name for this dude. And happy drawing out there, folks. We'll be back again soon with more creatures and characters and mercenaries and stuff. So we'll see you later.